Vanessa, you've got quite the expertise in franchising. Why don't you give us, though, a background a little bit on Blow Dry Bar, and then we'll get into Lashkind and what you've done with creating this platform.
Sure, thank you. So, first of all, I want to say that I'm not the founder of Blow Dry Bar. I have to give credit to two women from Vancouver who started the company, but I'm a founder in our company. So, prior to acquiring Blow Dry Bar, we had a children's hair salon concept in the Canadian market, combination of corporate locations and franchise locations. In 2009, we discovered Blow. It had three locations in Vancouver, Canada, and it was 2 years old at the time. We acquired it, turned it into a franchise system, moved the head office to Toronto, and then a few years later, we sold the children's hair salon concept so that we could really focus on growing Blow. And then I joined our team shortly thereafter. And now you're right. Now we have a well-established system with Blow Dry Bar. We realized that we had finally figured it out. We knew how to help support franchisees in their growth, build out a robust system of support at the corporate office, and we knew we could bring that to the benefit of emerging brands. So we started to look for brands in the beauty or wellness space. The thinking was if they had a similar franchisee profile, similar customer profile, similar staff working at the location to Blow, then we had a lot of expertise to lend. So we ended up acquiring just over 2 years ago now a business here in the Toronto market where our head office remains. It was a company that was in the lash and brow styling space called Mink, MYNC. Four corporate locations and two pop-ups. So the four corporate locations were turned into a franchise system. And then we entered the US with the brand name Lashkind. So we actually had a couple of Blow Dry Bar owners who opened Lashkind locations. And then subsequent to that, we acquired a company out of San Diego, a small franchise chain, an emerging franchisor called Lashbar. So indeed, we are now growing out a platform and we are still on the lookout for emerging franchisors in the beauty and wellness space to bring into our mix.
Wow, quite the story. So bringing it all the way back, though, you were had opened and operated successful children's hair salons first, right?
Correct.
This is how you got started. What prompted you to decide to become a franchisor after being a franchisee for how long?
Well, so the original story with the children's hair salon concept was when my husband and I took our oldest son for his first haircut in Toronto to a place that was supposed to be the best place to get your kid's haircut. And my husband looked around and he said, "This is awful. We can do a much better job." And the next thing I knew, he came home and said, "Okay, I'm starting a kid's hair salon and our friend Paul's going to run it." And I actually was not involved with the operations at the time. So we created this corporate chain of children's hair salons in the Toronto market, which really did become the place to get your kid's haircut. And then started expanding it across Canada and then started growing with a combination of franchised and corporate locations. So when we acquired Blow and knew that we or made the decision that we wanted to grow through franchising instead of through corporate development, we decided that we wanted to pick one of those paths. We didn't want to have this hybrid corporate and franchised situation because we felt it was too much of a conflict at the head office in terms of allocating head office resources. So with Blow, we picked that one path forward.
Okay, so my apologies. Yeah, I didn't realize you were kid space. There's such a huge difference between founding a business and acquiring a business. I'd love for you to share some of the challenges that you and your husband faced as you acquired Blow Dry Bar as opposed to starting something from scratch.
Yeah, it's such an interesting question. I mean, I guess there are pros and cons on both sides of the that equation. I think that when you acquire an existing brand, you have the advantage of knowing that it's already a proven concept and already having some systems and best practices in place. With the kids salon concept starting from scratch, we had identified that there was a niche in the market. There was nobody doing it well in the market, and we believed that we could come out with a strong brand, with a strong execution, and build the systems to do it better and really carve out that market share for us.
Okay. And then, so now you own the Blow Dry Bar business. Is it a clean exit with the founders? You guys just take over? I'm kind of love to hear kind of the dynamic because our audience, we have a lot of emerging founders that are listening or watching the podcast, and they're also thinking about maybe becoming part of a platform and not sure what their role might be. Do I stay on board? They have passion for their business still, or they think that maybe there'll be a time and place for them to exit. So I'd love to kind of hear about that dynamic on how that transitioned for that founder and you guys taking over.
So initially, it was extremely important to us that they be a big part of the system. And the intention was that they would continue to be the brand experts. They would continue to evolve the brand, evolve the service mix, products, all of that. Over time, there did become a natural opportunity for them to exit. But I'll give you the example of the Lashbar founders today. The team here at the Blow head office, we've become experts in the blow dry bar space. We're still learning to be experts in the lash space. So we needed to acquire that expertise with the founders that came on board. And then, of course, the advantage for the founders is that they've built their company to a natural place that they were able to achieve. They knew that they needed some external support to help take it to the next level. That was true with Blow, true with Lashbar, true with Mink. So that's what we could bring to the table. We could bring the capital, we could bring the expertise and know-how, but the founders still wanted to be a part of that growth story and still benefit from it. So mutually beneficial. We need the founders to stay on to be that expert voice, that expert innovator, and continue to develop the brand. And then we bring our skill and expertise and resources to the table.
Well, besides having systems and processes in place, what would you say are some of the most important elements that get you excited about acquiring an emerging franchise company?
So, proven concept, like I said, we want to know that it has a number of stores open to demonstrate that there actually is demand for the service and positive customer reviews. You can see those on the digital review channels. And then happy franchisees. That was an important part of the due diligence process for us in acquiring Lashbar. You want to make sure that even while a franchisee might recognize opportunity for improvement in particular key areas, you want to know that they're generally happy, that things are working well, that they're pleased with the results, that they feel good about their partners at the franchisor, corporate office, etc. So those are some of the key things that we would look for as well. You know, with our acquisition of Mink, they were not franchising when we found them. They were all corporately run. So there wasn't a franchise system in place. And quite honestly, that ended up proving to be a heavier lift for our head office team. Whereas at Lashbar, they've already got a terrific system in place. We could come in and say, wow, this is awesome. In fact, we're going to use some of that now on the Lashkind side as we marry Lashbar and Lashkind to essentially become one company. We're going to take the best of both worlds, and we can see all the gaps and the areas of opportunity where we can take components of the Blow system, some of our methods, some of our tools and resources, and kind of scratch out Blow and fill in Lashbar or Lashkind, and now bring those resources and system approaches that we know are successful at Blow for the benefit of the franchisees in this new system.
Because as you quickly found out, it doesn't really matter what the product or service is. A lot of what we do in the back office is really rinse and repeat.
Totally. And that was the hypothesis going in. And that was why we said we want to find brands in spaces that are similar. You know, we understand what sorts of things a franchisee needs to do to motivate a stylist who's an artist, not a salesperson. How do you get them to sell memberships or sell retail? How do you get a franchisee who's not a hairstylist or a lash tech? How do you help them understand how the business needs to work and how they need to manage their teams? So there are a lot of parallels, even though the service might be a different offering.
Yeah, and I would also imagine when you're looking at a particular franchise or just a company to acquire, it's not just who you're purchasing it from. It's what does their team look like? How many people are on the team? How much of it is founder slash president dependent? Because you're going to find out really quickly on how heavy of a lift that's going to be and how dependent it really was on that one person. Is this really a solopreneur business that you bought, or do they have a well-established team? Because I would imagine there's going to be folks that are going to come along for the ride. They're going to stay on board with you. And then there's going to be other people who, for centralized service purposes, they may not be a need right there.
Yeah, absolutely. So you want to find those synergies. You don't want to have redundancy across the team because you've got to stay as lean as possible and lean as appropriate, recognizing that you've got to prepare for the growth to come. So yeah, part of the opportunity is assessing the resources that come with that franchisor team, assessing the capabilities, understanding what people are doing on the team. Are those roles that are easily filled on the Blow corporate team? One of the examples would be our team of franchise business coaches. We've got an incredible franchise business coach program that has really been a key contributor to driving unit economics, driving the success of the franchisees in our Blow system. We cap them at a certain number of locations per business coach because we don't want them not to be able to provide the excellent service to our franchisees. So if we're now taking on, in this case, the example would be the Lashbar franchisees, do we have somebody that we need to add to the team? Is there somebody on the franchisor that we're acquiring who can be trained up to become a franchise business coach? So looking for those opportunities and assessing the capabilities that you're bringing and trying to be smart about building out the team to deliver that excellent service to the franchisees while being responsible to the budget.
Thank you for tuning into the Emerging Franchise Brands podcast. For additional insights, guest applications, and to stay connected, visit us at efbpodcast.com. The Emerging Franchise Brands podcast is for entertainment purposes only, and the views expressed do not necessarily represent those of Emerging Franchise Brands, its host Frank Fumey, or Emerging Franchise Group, LLC. Any discussed franchise or investment opportunity requires thorough investigation, obtaining proper disclosure documents, and expert consultation before making any investment decisions. The podcast and its host do not offer professional advice or endorsements, and they hold no responsibility for actions, representations, accuracy, or consequential damages related to the podcast content.